Peace and magic to all the gods and the goddesses tuned in to this new episode of Word Origins with Lucifugus, part 19. It's Deity Gang in this bitch. And in part 19, we just gonna get into it automatically off bat. Because a lot of motherfuckers be easily influenced, and that's why this part 19 is gonna be called propaganda. People don't realize like how controlling propaganda is. Or whatever. So it's just like pretty much propaganda in current times is like classified as like public advertisement that sways the people's mind to go a certain type of way or to support certain shit or whatever. So the word origin of propaganda is Committee of Cardinals in charge of foreign missions of the Catholic Church. Take a second and let that shit process or whatever. So now that we understand what propaganda is and what the word origin is of it, now we finna take a time travel all the way back to like when non-melanated people started invaded native lands and started capturing the natives or whatnot. So pretty much like propaganda is like an ancient form of MK Ultra, meaning it's like anti-magic that can control people's minds. And so trying to figure out how to put this in words that y'all can understand it, like a scenario or whatever. So I'm gonna just go with slavery. And again, it's just like going back to like when non-melanated people started enslaving melanated people or whatever. So pretty much the story, like how they even started doing all this shit was through propaganda or whatever, because they was like trying to force religion. They was literally trying to force religion on melanated people. And the melanated people was not accepting this shit because they knew it was false or whatever. So when we didn't accept that shit, they went back to their lands or whatever and started propaganda campaigns of like coming to conquer us. And what I mean by propaganda campaigns or whatever, they pretty much tried to force religion on our people or whatever, and our people didn't accept that or whatever. So they went back and told they went back and told they people that we were savages and that we needed to be civilized. Like, think about that. Like, what the fuck do civilized even mean? And what the fuck do savages even mean? Like, think about that shit. Like, people call themselves citizens every day, but don't even realize, like, what the fuck they casting upon themselves when they say this shit. Pretty much citizen, like the word origin of citizen is like a German dog command to sit. It's called Sitz. That's what they tell dogs to do, sit. That's what citizen means, sit, or whatever. So after they went back and like started this propaganda campaign or whatever, in their own lands, in their own countries, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, or whatever, they like pretty much got the people to support them. Like, yeah, these melanated people need to be civilized. They savages. They out here living in the wild and all that shit, living off the land. We can't accept that shit. We need to conquer them. So they start making this false propaganda shit, and they use religion to push their agenda in order to get that shit done. So they started going back to their countries and pretty much brainwashing their own people of why they needed to conquer us or whatever. So in present day, this same technique is still fucking going on. Like, it's still going on, and it's so evident, like with the Ukraine and the Russian situation or whatever. A lot of people don't even realize it's like if you say you support Russia, then that means I'm not even Russia. I apologize. I'm gonna backtrack. Like, this thing about me, I can hold myself accountable for the mistakes that I make, and I can easily go back and change that shit or whatever. And that's what accountability is like recognizing your mistakes and going back and correcting that shit. So pretty much, Ukraine, if you support Ukraine, then it's like you pretty much fell into that propaganda trap of the West, which is, it go back for so long or whatever. Like, pretty much the West is like so fucking corrupt with propaganda. And it's like the West is pretty much like, they do the same shit to other countries, but they get mad when other countries do the same shit that they do in the other countries or whatever. So it's just like, it's a propaganda push by media or whatever. And the media, the word origin of media is a intermediate agency. An intermediate agency or whatever. So pretty much intermediate agencies, pretty much, they always have a controlled narrative, because it's like, you gotta think about it like this. People own these companies, and the people that own these companies are Jewish people. Pretty much, like, majority of the major outlets in the United States are owned by Jewish people. Jewish people. They have a controlled narrative, meaning news/media outlets have a biased output due to it being owned by Jewish people for a financial incentive. And this even goes down to social media and all that shit, because it's like, pretty much you got to think from the viewpoint from the oppressor to understand a lot of this shit or whatever. Like, you got to like be learning how to look at shit from not just your perspective, from everybody's perspective. So it's like, at this point, you got to start looking at shit from an oppressive standpoint. And the oppressive standpoint is like very simple. The oppressive standpoint is, I want to instill fear in people, and I want to keep the people divided, so that way I can continue to rule these people and continue to keep them as sheep. That's what the oppressive standpoint is or whatever. And so it's like they come up with other shit like social media, which social media don't do shit but divide people into tribal bubbles, which pit people against one another based off biased storyline. And it's like, you can see this shit or whatever, but you gotta have an open perspective to critical thinking and using common sense and logical sense to understand shit. So it's like, a lot of people be biased or whatever because they don't want to use their perspective and challenge the government that they so heavily depend on, who in the past is like done some fucked up shit to everybody. They literally done fucked up shit to everybody. And it's like they fucking with people's minds at this point to control a narrative, to get you to get you to support some fucked up shit so they can justify doing that shit or whatever. And it's like, Americans don't understand that shit because they don't understand what debt, loans, and money goes, where money starts and where money ends. It's the same process. Money starts the same place that it ends. It literally starts the same place that it ends, which is Israel. Like, people don't realize, like, the Jews control literally every bank, and they own all these major banks. And it's like, anybody who's rich are like pawns to these Jewish people, aka Israel, because at the end of the day, whoever owns the bank literally owns all the rich people in the world. Like, think about that shit. That's the only way it works. Whoever controls the bank owns all the rich people in the world. That's just how it goes. That's just the way of life. But a lot of people don't use common sense. They don't. And it's crazy because it's called common sense, but it ain't too common around this motherfucker. And it's showing. It's definitely showing or whatever. So pretty much it's just like, what you see going on in the world right now is propaganda wars of entity. Meaning you got like all these big ass tech companies, all these big ass other companies or whatever. For example, they doing the sanctions to Russia or whatever. Pretty much in Russia, motherfuckers can't use MasterCard, motherfuckers can't use Visa or whatever. And that's what propaganda wars are. Propaganda wars are always about getting entity mind control to support fake shit. It's mind programming, and it's Israel and the Vatican in that order, because Israel controls the Vatican. Everybody can be paid off in this motherfucker, and people don't realize that shit. That's why America is so fucking corrupt at this point. And it's like, slowly y'all gonna see this shit starting to get revealed. Like, even, look, I wasn't even a Donald Trump supporter. I'm gonna keep saying this shit time and time again. But that man was right about a whole pile of shit. But y'all called that nigga crazy just because media outlets was saying this nigga was crazy. And it's like, I'd rather somebody be honest to my face and call me a nigga versus somebody lying to my face and then going behind my back and calling me a nigga. And that was the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And it's like, all these motherfuckers voted to get Donald Trump out of office, and Biden was the motherfucker that was lying the whole time. And it's like, y'all finna see that shit take full stage. It's finna take full stage because Joe Biden's son was on some fucked up shit. And Joe Biden was supporting that shit and lied to y'all face about it. Like, that nigga lied to y'all face about that shit. Like, the whole laptop situation, that shit definitely started World War III. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. That shit started World War III. The whole Joe Biden Hunter Biden laptop situation in Ukraine and what Vladimir Putin is talking about or whatever, pretty much if you know the history of what happened to the USSR or whatever, or the Soviet Union or whatever, and what Putin be talking about, it's the truth. The West had all the influence of why the Soviet Union failed. And that's his people, that's his nation, that's his homeland. So of course he's gonna have pride in it and try to protect that shit and reclaim what was taken from him by the West. It's just the absolutely truth. Like the United States went over there and fucked that shit up so bad because they keep trying to spread democracy and all that shit to other nations, but they doing it in such a corrupt way. And it's like people be like, well, how can you prove that? It's just like, it's easy to prove, it's common sense. It's just like, just because I use this statement all the time. Okay, just because you ain't see a tree fall or hear it fall don't mean it didn't fall. Just because you're not around it to see it and hear it fall don't mean it didn't fall. And that's like what people get confused with a lot of shit, because they want to see physical proof of a lot of shit or whatever. But it's like, it's common sense. Like when shit don't make sense, then there's something wrong with it. It's a lie being told behind it when shit don't add up. And it's like, that's what common sense come in, because lies don't never connect. Truth connects. And people don't want to accept that shit. So it's like people rather just be puppets. People rather just be puppets to their own programming that the government institution has embedded in them since they've been born. And it's like, shit, the West is so fucked up. Like, I don't even blame all these countries that's like finna band together and like try to overthrow the West. Like, shit, I want them to do it, because it's like at this point in time, like, I'm tired of this bullshit. Like, you can't even sit up and have conversations no more about life with people or whatever, because people be so propaganda out and believe in money is everything or whatever. Like, you can't even have conversations with people about real life shit without them trying to put money in the conversation or whatever. And it's like, it's so low vibrational. It's like the conversation will never get anywhere with these people, because they always keep saying, you need money to do this, you need money to do that. I mean, to y'all need money to do certain shit, and that's why y'all be limited in what the fuck y'all can do, because y'all believe y'all need money to do everything. Y'all believe y'all need money to be successful. Y'all believe y'all need money to be powerful. But if you look up the definitions in the word origin of success and power, that shit don't say nothing about no motherfucking money. So it's like deities at this point, bro. Y'all live by the G code, because it's like fuck these people at this point. I'm tired of talking to motherfuckers. I'm tired of trying to be kind to individuals who don't give a fuck about what you saying, who want to be one-sided, and who want to say you being manipulative and narcissistic, but in the same breath they doing the same shit. Like, we all are manipulative and narcissistic, but it's just up to you accepting that shit and being real with that shit and basing your intentions off of pure-hearted intent to help people and to guide people. And money does not fall within that category. You can sit up and help somebody end up fucking their whole life up or whatever, just because you trying to push the intent of them to go make money, when they really there to help you or whatever. But you want to sit up and call them manipulative and narcissistic or whatever, because they don't want to listen to the bullshit that you talking about as far as like money and all that shit or whatever. And that's double karma. That's double karma to that individual who keep trying to force that opinion and thought process of money onto people. Like, we all got a message to give each other. Like, the universe balances give and take. So it's like, if you're not using the people around you to gather information or whatever to expand your life, not based on money or whatever, you winning. You winning. But if you just focused on that this individual don't have no financial prosperity, so you don't have to listen to him or whatever, that's you blocking out the universe's resources. So you can't get mad when you end up in a fucked up situation and you end up broke and poor. You can't. Because I'm telling y'all right now, the middle class is over with. And they showing y'all this shit in y'all face, and y'all still supporting this shit. They literally trying to get rid of the middle class that's been holding America together since forever. Because y'all got rich people running this shit and making the calls. So it's like they so out of touch with reality, they don't give a fuck about the working class or the middle class. At this point, it's either finna be you rich or you fucking poor. Ain't no middle class no more. And y'all seeing this shit with the gas prices and all that shit or whatever is because people so quick to support fucking propaganda without doing the correct research towards shit. And I'm gonna leave y'all with this on a friendly note and a magical note. Stop listening to fucking propaganda from the media. Stop doing that shit. Because the whole situation in Ukraine, it stemmed from us. That stemmed from the United States corrupt ways they do business and the backhanded shit that they do that motherfuckers don't see in the light. And then they come back to y'all face and lie to y'all about the shit and in order to continue to get y'all support in these political seats and political power and all that shit and political influence or whatever. And at some point, motherfuckers gotta stop that shit. Like, if y'all ain't gonna do it, then another country gonna do it. So don't sit up looking stupid when you get invaded by China and Russia and other countries. Because that's what the fuck finna be happening. Because motherfuckers tired of the fuck shit of America doing. And it's like, if you support propaganda, you are a fucking robot. You are a fucking zombie. You are a issue. So when they start lining up, shooting motherfuckers in the head in the middle of the street, I'm all for it. Why? It's because ignorance needs to be getting rid of at this point. Ignorance is fucking dangerous to the earth. It's dangerous to the ones who are here with a pure intent to help people expand and enhance themselves spiritually and to learn how to have balance of light and darkness. And that equals chaos. That's just chaos is just understanding that challenges are always present in life, regardless of what the fuck it is. Whatever you call bad is not bad. It's just a challenge for you to up your perspective to remain blessed. Meaning you're building character once you understand what the fuck chaos is and what the blessed perspective is. So on that note, I want y'all to stay dangerous, be magical, kill it with kindness. That's the true balance. But don't let nobody take advantage of you. Stay aware, watch the people around you, and play chess with your decision making. Slow down. The true power in life is in the choices that you make because you create your own path in life. Don't let money dictate that shit for you, and don't let anybody else dictate what the fuck is meant for you in your life. All love, deity gang. My hands is cold as fuck right now, but y'all get the picture. Out. Water.